with us. Let's get right to that Fox News alert for you, though. Twin tragedies. This is just so sad, shocking as well. Hollywood being hit hard.
Actress Debbie Reynolds has very sadly died. Just one day after her daughter, Carrie Fisher, her final words, "I want to be with Carrie." Jackie Ibanez here with the heartbreaking details and a look back at Reynolds' legendary career. Morning, Jackie.
Good morning, ladies. Well, it's possible she died of a broken heart. Debbie Reynolds suffering a suspected stroke as she mourned the loss of her daughter, Star Wars star Carrie Fisher. Reynolds' family says the stress of her daughter's death was just too much for the Hollywood icon to handle. 6-year-old Carrie Fisher died on Tuesday after going into cardiac arrest on a flight from London to L.A. According to TMZ, Reynolds told her son, quote, "I miss her so much. I want to be with Carrie," just hours before she was rushed to the hospital. Debbie Reynolds' legendary Hollywood career spanned nearly 7 decades. The acclaimed singer, dancer, and actress starred in more than 40 films and countless TV shows.
Good morning, good morning. It's great to stay up late. Good morning, good morning.
As you see there, she danced her way into film history in the 1950s when she co-starred with Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor in Singing in the Rain. Reynolds earned both Tony and Oscar nominations over the course of her career and stayed active well into her 80s.
I've been very lucky because I started when I was really young. I was 16, and now how many years is it? So, 65 years. So I've had a wonderful career, and it's been a joy.
Quite a career. Last night, fans gathered to pay tribute at her star on Hollywood Walk of Fame, leaving flowers and candles. And this morning, funeral plans for both Reynolds and daughter Carrie Fisher are still unknown. Just so sad and unbelievable within a day of each other.
Yeah, ladies. I mean, happening overnight. The last I heard, she was in the hospital.
Terrible.
Her son said she wasn't doing well.
Right.
And then to wake up to this news this morning. Thank you, Jackie. Well, tributes, as you might imagine, just pouring in for Debbie Reynolds in overnight as friends and fans try to come to grips with the sudden loss.
Actress Deborah Messing posted this morning, "Debbie went to be with Carrie. She always worried about her. Carrie left too soon, and now they are together again." Reynolds played Messing's TV mom on the sitcom we all loved, Will and Grace.
And Mario Lopez posting this picture, writing, "I'll always cherish our dances together."
And Marie Osmond tweeting, "2 tragic losses in 2 days. Heavy heart tonight for my dear friend Debbie Reynolds, just one day after she lost her daughter Carrie Fisher."
Debbie Reynolds was 84 years old. Which is some other news for you this morning. A diplomatic showdown of historic proportions intensifying by the hour. President-elect Donald Trump now teaming up with Israel's prime minister over the UN resolution that has gotten ugly fast. Garrett Tenney live at our nation's capital with the escalating war of words. Good morning, Garrett.
Heather, good morning to you. And this war of words is not going away anytime soon, particularly after Secretary of State John Kerry's speech yesterday on peace in the Middle East. In that wide-ranging speech, Kerry defended the U.S.'s decision not to defend Israel at the United Nations Security Council last week and continued to condemn Israeli settlements, which he called a threat to any two-state solution between Israel and Palestine.
There are a similar number of Jews and Palestinians living between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. They have a choice. They can choose to live together in one state, or they can separate into 2 states. If the choice is one state, Israel can either be Jewish or democratic. It cannot be both. And it won't ever really be at peace.
And Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu fired back at Kerry's remarks in a speech of his own and said his country doesn't need to be lectured about the importance of peace by foreign leaders, while also pointing out that Secretary Kerry ignored the fact that Palestinians believe Israel doesn't have the right to exist.
I don't seek applause. I seek the security and peace and prosperity and the future of the Jewish state. The Jewish people have sought their place under the sun for 3,000 years, and we're not about to be swayed by mistaken policies that have caused great damage.
And Israel's leaders are also now very publicly saying they look forward to working with the next administration. And last night, President-elect Donald Trump showed why that is when he tweeted, "We cannot continue to let Israel be treated with such total disdain and respect. They used to have a great friend in the U.S., but not anymore. The beginning of the end was the horrible Iran deal, and now this, the UN. Stay strong, Israel. January 20th is fast approaching." And Israel's prime minister responded directly to those tweets, thanking Mr. Trump for his friendship and his clear-cut support of Israel. Heather and Jillian?
Really was a remarkable day.
It was incredible. And the rebuttal from the Prime Minister of Israel yesterday, I don't think the story's going anywhere.
No, a lot of feedback today expected. Thank you, Garrett.
You got it.
And now throughout the GOP primary, Mr. Trump was criticized by his opponents for being anti-Israel, but now the tables have turned and the Obama administration is getting slammed for colluding.
Attorney and law professor at Harvard University, Alan Dershowitz, taking aim at the administration for setting back the peace process, saying that President Obama deliberately tied the hands of his successor.
Of course they had a role, and there will be congressional hearings, and Ben Rhodes will have to raise his hand and swear under oath, and when he is cross-examined, he is going to acknowledge exactly what role he played, what role Vice President Biden played, what role the President of the United States played. This could not have happened without the complete support and encouragement of the United States, and this sets back the peace process enormously. President Obama deliberately and undemocratically tied the hands of his successor by having a resolution of the Security Council that cannot now be undone because of the veto power. And it is so undemocratic for a lame duck president, when Congress is not in session, to take out his anger and pique at another country by tying the hands of the incoming president. It's going to make peace much, much more difficult to achieve.
Now another Fox News alert, a parting shot for Russian President Vladimir Putin, as President Obama is expected to announce new sanctions as soon as later today over Russia's alleged interference in our 2016 elections. Critics of the outgoing administration have been slamming the president for his so-called weakness when it comes to Moscow, insisting that an iron fist is the only way to stop Russian meddling.
The new Congress and the new president deal with Russia passed new sanctions much tougher than the ones we already have.
Vladimir Putin is a thug and a bully and a murderer. He understands strength, and that's all that he understands. And we're still the strongest nation on earth. We just have to do it right.
Now the FBI and CIA claim to have evidence showing Russia intervened to help Mr. Trump win. But Russia denies that and is now promising possible sanctions in retaliation of its own against Washington.
And now to a Fox Business alert. President-elect Donald Trump delivering on his promise once again to bring more jobs to America.
Cheryl Casoni from our sister network, Fox Business, is here now with Mr. Trump's big announcement. What can you tell us, Cheryl?
Yeah, well, all of this going down yesterday. Good morning, guys. The president-elect wasting no time, announcing roughly 8,000 new jobs would be created in the United States when he becomes president.
Critical give you, I just spoke with the head person. He said because of me, they're doing 5,000 jobs in this country.
So the president-elect speaking to reporters in Mar-a-Lago yesterday, Palm Beach, Florida, where he has been spending the Christmas holiday with family, but the transition team has been busy. So here's the breakdown of the 8,000 jobs. 5,000 will come from telecommunications company Sprint, which is owned by SoftBank of Japan. The CEO, Masayoshi Son, had visited Trump Tower earlier this month and seems to have orchestrated this move. Of the 8,000, 3,000 jobs going to be created by a new company. It's called OneWeb. Trump also once again bringing up the deal that he made with Indiana-based Carrier that had created an uproar when they announced plans to move thousands of jobs to Mexico, but instead are now keeping 1,000 jobs here at home. The president-elect saying of these latest corporate moves, quote, they're coming back to the United States, which is a nice change. Back to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Appreciate it.
And now a major winter storm brewing down on the northeast here right before the holiday weekend.
Yeah, Fox News senior meteorologist Janice Dean here with more on if our New Year's plans are in jeopardy. jeopardy.
The silver lining is we'll get this storm system out of the way before the big celebration on New Year's Eve. So look at your current temperatures, 36 in New York, 31 in Boston. You've got the cold air, the trough that has sunk southward, and along that jet stream, the potential for a nor'easter. So winter weather advisories posted for upstate New York, as well as the mountains in Virginia, West Virginia, up towards Pennsylvania, and then New England. You've got winter weather advisories and warnings in effect, where they're going to get the big snowfall totals, in some cases over 2 feet. So watching this storm develop along the coast, and with that, the potential for very gusty winds, especially as we head into the overnight and Friday for New England. Wind gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour along the coast. So that's going to cause problems with blowing snow and travel conditions. So just be aware of that. By Friday, it's out of the way, and looking ahead to New Year's Eve, not too bad a forecast, ladies. 38 degrees, cloudy skies. That's not bad when it comes to, winter here in Times Square. We could be dealing with sub-zero temperatures, but we're not. It's going to be around average with cloudy skies.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Better than sub-zero.
I guess you got to be thankful.
Comparatively speaking. Thank you very much.
You got it.
Well, an embarrassing mistake as the president continues to push through his agenda before leaving office. The White House tweeting out this picture after announcing 2 monuments. Bears Ears in Utah and Gold Butte in Nevada are now protected lands. Problem is, the picture is of the Arches National Park, which was designated a national monument nearly 100 years ago.
And for the first time in 40 years, a Catholic bishop will participate in a presidential inauguration. The Archbishop of New York, Timothy Cardinal Dolan, one of 6 faith leaders taking part in next month's swearing-in of President-elect Donald Trump. The cardinal will be reading from Scripture and giving the invocation at the January 20th ceremony, which is in Washington, D.C.
Well, the time now is 11 minutes after the top of the hour. And what does it take for an illegal to get into the country? Apparently, just an egg roll and some cash. The disturbing new report showing how Border Patrol agents were bribed.
And lucky to be alive, the moment 3 teens are saved from their capsized boat just miles from shore, how they stayed alive while stranded on the high seas.
And thanks, but no thanks. A big screen role that anyone would be honored to fill, playing former President Ronald Reagan, right? Well, we're going to talk about the actor who doesn't think that it's such an honor.
A disturbing new report revealing corruption at our border. Federal agents taking millions of dollars to let drugs and illegal immigrants into the United States, and that's according to the New York Times. In one case, an agent approved a citizenship application in exchange for 100 egg rolls, if you can believe it. The report shows nearly 200 employees have pocketed nearly $15 million in bribes over the past 10 years alone.
Well, President Obama in a race against time to resettle a staggering number of refugees before he leaves office at the jaw-dropping rate of 290 per day. As of October 1st, more than 3,500 of those refugees have come from Syria. But the most shocking number of all, the U.S. State Department reports incomplete background information for more than 26% of those Syrian refugees being ushered through our borders. And that brings us to a look at who is talking. And this morning, Representative Brian Babin, who is calling for a suspension of the controversial refugee settlement program, is slamming President Obama for making President-elect Trump's transition more difficult.
We've seen over and over again the refugee program turning into a Trojan horse, not only in Western Europe, as we've seen, but also right here in America. And so when the president wants to double the funding for his Office of Refugee Resettlement and spend more money, bringing in more refugees towards the end of his career. He's going to be doing this up till the very last days, hours, and minutes of his president to make as much mischief, to try to keep President-elect Trump from undoing what this president has done in terms of endangering the safety of American citizens. And so President Trump will be at a disadvantage.
And growing outrage against the liberal professor whose husband verbally harassed Ivanka Trump just a few days ago on a flight in front of her husband and her children. Over 37,000 people signing a petition now demanding that Hunter College fire Professor Matthew Lasner over his partner's actions. The couple gaining lots of attention after Lasner tweeted, "Ivanka and Jared at JFK T5 flying commercial. My husband chasing them down to harass them. Hashtag banality of evil."
Well, another college adding its name to the list of cushy, safe places and PC police havens. The University of Kansas Library handing out buttons displaying preferred gender pronouns.
Those pins come in 3 different variations: he, him, his, she, her, and hers, and for those who don't quite identify as male or female, they, them, and theirs. But critics are now slamming the pins as silly and a waste of money.
Well, library leaders say that it's part of the campaign to lure undergraduate students.
It's interesting because I kind of get where they're coming from with trying to accommodate everybody, but at a certain point it becomes a little silly, as critics have said.
For sure.
You want everyone to be comfortable and happy, but there's a certain limit.
Yeah, so let us know what you think for sure on that one. I'm sure you have some opinions. And the time now is 18 minutes after the top of the hour. Afraid for their lives, a school bus packed with children and the driver asleep at the wheel. The desperate text messages from the middle schoolers to their parents.
2016 is on its way out, but problems plaguing the country, sadly, are not. What will happen to flag-burning protesters and Black Lives Matter? Our next guests on what to expect in the new year in 2017. Driver actually fell asleep at the wheel, nearly crashing as dozens of children on board feared for their lives. Terrified students in Connecticut taking these photos of Paul Pixley dozing off. The kids quickly making frantic phone calls and sending their parents desperate text messages. One reading heartbreakingly, "Hurry up, I'm really scared." Pixley later admitted to police he took methadone and NyQuil. He's now banned from driving for the district and facing multiple charges. Thankfully. 3 teens are lucky to be alive after a harrowing ordeal of their own while vacationing near the Florida Keys. The boys forced to climb on top of their rental boat after it started taking on water and capsized 2 miles off the coast. Their life jackets got caught trapped underneath, but the quick-thinking teens managed to keep one of their phones above the water just long enough to get a signal and call 911. Crews found them just before sunset. Heather?
Thank you, Jillian. 2016 coming to an end, but major political crises carrying forward into the new year. So how will this year's biggest stories play out in 2017? Joining us now to weigh in is political commentator Aaron McPike. Thank you so much for joining us, Aaron.
Sure thing.
So let's begin with police shootings and the Black Lives Matter protests that have followed. At least 8 major police shootings that have happened. We can show you these on a map that led to protests. That's what connects these specific shootings that we're talking about. According to the Washington Post, police have fatally shot 955 civilians in 2016. On the other side, 64 law enforcement officers have been fatally shot in 2016, and that's the most in 5 years. So how will this shape things to come in 2017?
Well, Heather, one of the things we heard from the Black Lives Matter movement, from its founders, after Donald Trump was elected, was they called him a white supremacist. I would point out that the Black Lives Matter movement is actually a very disparate group, lots of local leaders, and when you have local leaders, they do tend to take things in their own hands. They said that they want to have more protests during the Trump administration. They do not want to meet with Donald Trump or any of his top officials. Instead, they're going to continue to protest. When you have rhetoric that's flying and emotions that are raw and running high, you could see that this really spilling out again into 2017, and we thought it reached a boiling point back with Baltimore and Ferguson, but I think we may see that step up again.
Yeah, and clearly something else that will probably continue to step up in 2017, the DNC leaks and Russia's involvement in the election. Just yesterday, we had President Obama speaking out about that and saying that, you know, he is going to release a retaliatory plan against Russia.
That's right, and we still haven't exactly gotten to the bottom of the depths of Russia's involvement in the election. Obviously, Democrats are furious about this, in part because so many more Democratic emails got leaked. We don't know the extent to which the Republican committee was hacked, although, you know, obviously we have heard from Reince Priebus and others say that they didn't get into the Republican servers the way they did get into Democratic servers. But we don't know just how involved Russia was. But this is clearly going to be a problem when we're hearing a number of Republicans even saying that Donald Trump needs to get to the bottom of what exactly Russia did.
Yeah, I spoke with Senator John McCain just yesterday, and he is one of those folks calling for that investigation. All right, so FBI Director James Comey, this is not ending either. The Clinton email investigations, a lot of Democrats blaming Hillary Clinton's loss on this. 11 days before the election, James Comey, he announced that Congress would renew the probe into her emails, and a lot of people saying that's why she lost.
Well, that's right, but remember that Comey's decision in July to essentially clear Hillary Clinton infuriated Republicans back in July. And back in July, even, we heard a number of political analysts saying, look, the election might be over. This basically gave it to Hillary Clinton. Republicans were furious about that.
And the Democrats loved her then, loved James Comey
then. They absolutely did. He got a ton of praise from Barack Obama and a number of Democrats. And then those same Democrats criticized Comey in October when he didn't reopen the investigation, but said there were more emails that he was looking into, and then 2 days later say, oh, you know, never mind. That's over with. But James Comey is supposed to be an independent operator. The FBI is supposed to be an independent agency, and he was essentially politicized. Now, he is in the third year of a 10-year term, but it tarnished his reputation, and there's a lot of people saying, you know, the FBI is a really leaky sieve, what's going on there. That's bad for the FBI. It's bad for law enforcement in the country.
Yeah, he has said that he'll have some comments, something to say about all of this after the inauguration of President-elect Trump. So finally, the spread of ISIS, the terror attacks, including here at home, the Orlando shooting, amongst others. How will that impact 2017?
Well, if you think about it, we had the Belgian bombings in March. Then you had the attack in Nice in July. There were the explosions in New York and New Jersey in September. No one has gotten a handle on this. And, of course, the Orlando shooting back in June was the deadliest mass shooting that we have seen in the United States ever. And so getting to the bottom of lone wolf attacks and how to prevent them, no one has figured out how to do that. And terrorist attacks are spreading. This is something that the Trump administration is going to have to try to get a handle on. But no one's gotten a handle on it yet, and it's scary. We're seeing these terrorist attacks spread.
Yeah, the Christmas market massacre there in Berlin, 12 people killed there with a truck. All right, thank you so much, Erin. Appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
And the time now is about half past the top of the hour. And the president-elect, speaking of Donald Trump, putting our veterans first.
We're working on something to make it great for the veterans, because the veterans have been treated very, very unfairly.
The health care option that he is now considering putting on the table.
And a dangerous downside to legal weed with a mysterious illness making pot smokers really sick. It's Thursday, December 29th, and this is a Fox News alert. Death by a broken heart. Hollywood legend Debbie Reynolds passing away just one day after her daughter Carrie Fisher. Her heartbreaking final words as tributes poured in overnight.
And Mr. Trump's message to Israel, stay strong.
I'm very, very strong on Israel. I think Israel's been treated very, very unfairly by a lot of different people.
The president-elect teaming up with Benjamin Netanyahu as Secretary Kerry admits the Obama administration kicked the chair out for Israel at the negotiation table. The firestorm that he has now created.
And Nicolas Cage, reluctant to take a role playing Ronald Reagan. Why? He says it could ruin his career. Fox and Friends First continues right now.
To you. You are watching Fox and Friends First. I'm Heather Childers.
And I'm Jillian Turner. It is now 32 minutes after the hour. Let's get right to that Fox News alert with twin tragedy sending shock and sadness throughout Hollywood.
Yeah, horrible news to wake up to this morning. Actress Debbie Reynolds has died just one day after her daughter Carrie Fisher. Her final words, I want to be with Carrie.
Jackie Ibanez is here with the heartbreaking details and a look back at Reynolds' legendary career. Hi, Jackie.
Good morning, Jillian and Heather. Well, it was just too much for her to handle. Debbie Reynolds suffering a suspected stroke as she mourned the loss of her daughter, Star Wars star Carrie Fisher. 60-year-old Carrie Fisher died Tuesday after going into cardiac arrest on a flight from London to L.A. According to TMZ, Reynolds told her son, quote, "I miss her so much, I want to be with Carrie," just hours before she was rushed to the hospital. Debbie Reynolds was extremely close to her kids, writing in her Twitter bio, "My two children are the lights of my life." Her legendary Hollywood career spanned nearly 7 decades. The acclaimed singer, dancer, and actress starred in more than 40 films and countless TV shows.
Good morning, good morning. It's great to stay up late. Good morning, good morning.
Such a career she had. She danced her way into film history in the 1950s when she co-starred with Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor in Singing in the Rain. Reynolds earned both Tony and Oscar nominations over the course of her career and stayed active well into her 80s.
I've been very lucky because I started when I was really young. I was 16, and now how many years is it? So, 65 years. So I've had a wonderful career, and it's been a joy.
Last night, fans gathered to pay tribute at her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, leaving flowers and candles. This morning, funeral arrangements for both Reynolds and daughter Carrie Fisher.
By this Debbie Reynolds news just the day after her daughter's passing. So much love and strength to their family.
Yeah, and the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Science posted this photo writing, "An actress, a trailblazer, and hero. Rest in peace, Debbie Reynolds." Debbie Reynolds was 84 years old.
And now a diplomatic showdown of epic proportions is intensifying by the hour, with President-elect Donald Trump now teaming up with Israel's Prime Minister over the UN resolution that's gotten real ugly real fast. Garrett Tenney is live at our nation's capital with the escalating war of words. Garrett, what's the latest here?
Yeah, well, Jillian, good morning to you. And Secretary of State John Kerry kicked off a new round of this fight yesterday in a wide-ranging speech where he defended the U.S. decision not to defend Israel at the United Nations Security Council last week. Kerry went on to say that friends sometimes need to tell each other the truth even when it hurts.
Regrettably, some seem to believe that the U.S. friendship means the U.S. must accept any policy, regardless of our own interests, our own positions, our own words, our own principles, even after urging again and again that the policy must change.
And Kerry's speech set off a new round of rebukes from the Israeli government, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who ripped Kerry's speech as skewed and said it ignored the fact that Palestine is against the very existence of a Jewish state.
The Jewish people have sought their place under the sun for 3,000 years, and we're not about to be swayed by mistaken policies that have caused great damage.
And President-elect Donald Trump weighed in on Kerry's speech as well and expressed his support for Israel, tweeting, "We cannot continue to let Israel be treated with such total disdain and disrespect. They used to have a great friend in the U.S., but not anymore. The beginning of the end was the horrible Iran deal, and now this, the UN. Stay strong, Israel. January 20th is fast approaching." January 20th is, of course, when Mr. Trump takes office, and Israeli leaders have not been shy about saying that day can't come soon enough. Heather, Jillian?
Wow, that's certainly the foreign policy news of the day. Thanks for staying on that, Garrett.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot of response today as well. Thank you. Well, a major winter storm is bearing down on the Northeast right before the holiday weekend. Wouldn't you know it? Fox News senior meteorologist Janice Dean in Weather Center for us with more on if our New Year's plans are in jeopardy.
No, the good news is this will be a year-end storm, no doubt about it, but it will be cleared out by Friday. That's the great news. Current temperatures you can see across the board. We've got chilly air around this cold front, this trough that is dug as far south as the Gulf Coast, and along this front, that's where we're seeing our coastal low that's going to develop overnight tonight and bring very gusty winds, blowing snow conditions to New England. So there's the storm as it transfers its energy across the Atlantic Ocean. We're going to see the potential for big snowfall totals as well as gusty winds overnight tonight and into tomorrow. So there's your forecast temperatures and radar. Mainly a snow event for interior sections of the Northeast and New England, a rain event extent along coastal areas, and then we're going to see some lake effect snow as we head into the weekend. Forecast precipitation again. You can see where the rain is. You can see where the big snowfall totals across New Hampshire as well as Vermont and Maine. So good news for skiers for your New York forecast. Again, a stormy day today. Friday looks good. Saturday looks good. And Saturday night looks also very good. Temperatures around 38 degrees and cloudy skies. As far as the New Year's Eve forecast goes, that's pretty good by my books. Back to you.
Going to be fun in Times Square for sure.
Yes, it will.
Thank you, Janice.
Of course.
The time is now 39 past the hour, and a Fox News alert for you. A parting shot at Vladimir Putin, the punishment expected against Russia today for their alleged election interference.
And reputation ruined. The brother of Jean-Benet Ramsey taking aim in a bombshell lawsuit.
And would you let your child wear these? Outraged parents slamming the pot pants being marketed for young girls.
Welcome back to Fox and Friends. First, a brand new twist in the Christmas murder mystery that captivated America 20 years ago. Jean-Benet Ramsey, I'm sure you recognize her. Well, her brother, Burke, is suing CBS for $750 million after its docuseries blamed him for his sister's murder. It is his second lawsuit over the series, which he says permanently damaged his reputation. Earlier this year, Burke spoke to Dr. Phil about his distrust of the media.
They would follow us around. Seeing that as a little kid, it's just kind of a chaotic nightmare. So I was pretty skeptical of any sort of media. It just made me a very private person.
Well, the family was cleared in 2008. Jean-Benet's murder remains unsolved. Actor Nicolas Cage worried about accepting a new role because he says it might infuriate liberal Hollywood.
Okay, let's run.
The Oscar winner reportedly in the running to play former President Ronald Reagan in a new movie. It's expected to show the conservative president in a positive light, something that Cage fears could hurt his career.
A violent, mysterious illness on the rise in states with legalized marijuana. Doctors in Colorado have seen cases of a syndrome called CHS, double since the state approved medical marijuana use in 2009. It causes severe pain, vomiting, and kidney failure, and is often misdiagnosed. It's proven to go away days after stopping drug use, however, is the good news. And would you ever let your children wear these pants? Outraged parents say they're disgusted by them. Marijuana leggings, which were discovered on Amazon by a horrified grandmother who was shopping for Christmas presents. They're retailing for just under $10 bucks a pair, so they're a steal, and they're described as little girl fashion. Photos on the site even show the pot leaf leggings displayed among toys. I think I'll skip those this year.
Well, we'll be right back. You decide.
And Obama preparing a parting shot for Russian President Vladimir Putin.
The White House expected to announce sanctions as soon as today over Russia's alleged interference in the 2016 elections.
Doug Luzader is live in Washington, D.C. this morning with the breaking details. Good morning.
Good morning, and we'll see if we get any information out of the White House on this, whether there's actually a formal announcement, but this is something the White House has said has been in the pipeline for some time. It may further drive a wedge between President Obama and President-elect Trump. As for the form of the response, it may come in the form of economic sanctions. There may be a cyber component to this as well. President-elect Trump was asked about this last night.
I think we ought to get on with our lives. I think that computers have complicated lives very greatly. The whole, age of computer has made it where nobody knows exactly what's going on.
Still, this may represent kind of a parting shot between President Obama and President Putin, who have had a tension-filled relationship, to say the very least. Now, President Obama has argued that this should be a bipartisan issue, and certainly there's some Republicans who are on board with some kind of response, although some think that this is better left to the next administration and to the next Congress.
The new Congress and the new president deal with Russia, pass new sanctions much tougher than the ones we already have.
Now, as far as Russia's response to the potential U.S. response, the Russian Foreign Ministry has said that there could be some kind of retaliation on their end as well. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Doug.
So it continues back and forth.
Mexico is hoping to cut a deal with President-elect Donald Trump over trade. One of its bargaining chips, the wall.
We will build a great wall along the southern border, and Mexico will pay for the wall.
Mexico now saying it's willing to beef up border security and may even pitch in to help build this wall. In return, the country wants Mr. Trump to back away from another hot-button campaign promise, scrapping NAFTA.
And President-elect Donald Trump says he is fed up with the way our veterans are being treated when it comes to health care. Lots of folks agree with him there. And now the incoming administration says that it is working on a public-private option for the VA.
We're working on something to make it great for the veterans, because the veterans have been treated very, very unfairly. I don't want to see veterans waiting in line for 2 weeks. And, you know, in many cases they have a minor illness, and it takes so long to see a doctor. It turns out to be a major illness, and beyond that.
Yeah, beyond that, some of them die. Well, a senior administration official confirmed the plan to reporters outside Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, and they say that it is just one of the options on the table.
Now to a Fox Business alert. The prices at the pump are getting a major bump in 2017.
Come on, Cheryl Casoni from our sister network, Fox Business, here with which states will get the increase. Cheryl?
So here's the story. There's going to be a hangover on January 1st for your wallet and for yourself potentially here. So 7 states are going to be seeing their gas prices raised because of new state taxes. Here are the states: Pennsylvania, Michigan, Nebraska, Georgia, North Carolina, Indiana, and Florida. Because of these taxes, one in Pennsylvania is going to be 8 cents per gallon. There is going to be a rise for them. I'm going to leave you with some good news, though. On a national basis for 2016, U.S. drivers saved $27 billion versus the year before because of lower gas prices overall.
I guess, you know, just when we spent all of our Christmas bonus and all of our savings on presents, we're going to have to pony up even more for gas.
The holiday is over.
Yeah.
And the holiday
officially
is
over.
Yeah, it's over for Samsung as well. More trouble for them?
Oh, this is something else, ladies. Listen to this. So there are now new reports that the company has not yet responded to that the new Samsung